Alright, so today I'm going to show y'all a couple different versions of the flex plates that GM used throughout the years. So the first up we have is a Power Glide, and it's a 153 tooth, and how you can tell that is by simply measuring it. And the nice thing about it is you can use this Power Glide flex plate on our Turbo 350, so it makes it really nice. And you can use this 168 flex plate on a Power Glide because these three pads right here, 1, 2, 3, line up just fine. So it will work. And then there is the dowel pin down here, which would go right through the center. Which makes it really nice. Your 153 tooth flex plate is about 12 3/4, and your 168 is about 14 1/8 of an inch, roughly. That's how you can tell the difference. And obviously, if you had them sitting side by side like I do here, that's quite a bit of difference. You can definitely tell. 153, 168. That's the difference. And the nice thing too is you can bolt the Power Glide converter right up to this 168. Shouldn't have any issues. And if I'm not mistaken, you can bolt up a Turbo 350 converter to this Power Glide flex plate and you shouldn't have no issues. Correct me if I'm wrong on that. So the Power Glide does not have no weights whatsoever on it. That's because it is internally balanced. So it's no weights on this side or this side. The newer style flex plates like this one we have here, this is for a one-piece rear main seal, had this weight. This is off a 350. A lot of folks get the 454 and the new style flex plate that has the weight on it mixed up. They confuse it and think it's for a 454, and in reality, it's actually the way the factory had it. It's actually for a 350. So some folks get that mixed up. This one is from a 454. I know that because it came off the 454 I bought that I'm going to put in my Biscayne later on. And notice it has this weight. 454 is externally balanced. A 283 is internally balanced. A 327 is internally balanced. And a early 350 is internally balanced, along with the 307, 305, and then a 454 and a 400 is externally balanced. A 402, 396, and 427 are all internally balanced. And I hope this helps a little bit, so I want to make this video. And what you can do is you can actually use, well, no, you don't want to do that. Ignore that. Alright, so what I was going to mention here is I was going to say you could pull this weight off, but no, don't do that. No, no, no. That's a big no-no. So after the Power Glide, they went to the 168. You could still get a 153 tooth flex plate, so. But they went to this style right here, and which is a 168. This is like for your trucks and all that. And like I said, you could still get a 153. But I'm just going to the next step up. And this is a 168. And notice it is a neutral balance. It's no weights on it at all. Nothing around it. And nothing on this side either. So it's neutral balance flex plate. And this is a 168. And it has both pads right there for a Power Glide or a Turbo 350. And if I'm not mistaken, you could bolt a 700 R4 to this flex plate too. This one I actually bought and came off the Turbo 350 that was in my 69 C10. And then the next one they had after this was this style right here. And it's a couple things that are different about it. The flex plate itself is the same, but it's two things that are different about this. the weight, okay? This is for a 98 Chevrolet Vortec. Had the weight on it. And that machine shop did tell me too that some of the later Model 350s were quote unquote externally balanced. So it had that there. And then the other thing you got to watch out for too is you cannot take this flex plate and bolt this on the earlier block. Why? Because this bolt pattern is different. And I'll show you. So up until 87, until GM went to this bolt pattern, the Power Glide was the same bolt pattern. The 168 is the same bolt pattern. So if you want to go from a 153 to a 168 tooth, you know, to get the better flex plate, or in some cases get 11-inch clutch, because it's a little heavy duty clutch, you can do that. The bolt pattern's all the same, you know. Even on the 454, it's the same bolt pattern right here, but you had the weight. Now, what I was actually talking about earlier in the video about taking this weight off right here, that's a no-no. Don't do that. What I was thinking of is, I've seen this before, and watch this very closely, is some people will buy this flex plate from a 454. I've seen them do it before, and they'll drill these rivets out and take this weight off and use it on like a 283 or something like that. It's the same thing, you know, it just doesn't have the weight. That's what I was actually referring to. And the bolt pattern is different if we look. So this is a 454, which doesn't matter. It's the same bolt pattern on the crank as a small block. And then here, the way you can tell is here's your little dowel pin right here that goes in the middle. And then here's the other one right here. We line that up just like this. Get it facing the right way. And if we look, I line that dowel pin up. It will not line up. Okay. And if we actually look, the hole right here that goes over the crank snout there on the back of the crank is actually smaller. And why? Because it had the one-piece rear main seal. And one piece, you know, I'm 50-50 on it. It's better in some ways, in other ways, not really, because it can pop out, you know, and if you drag racing or something like that. But most of the time in the real world, it's perfectly fine. You know, both designs, in my personal opinion, are not that great. I mean, it's nothing perfect in the perfect world there. But a one piece is the better way to go if you can go that way. But then later on, you got to worry about if you drag racing with that seal popping out. I've actually seen that happen. And happened to a buddy of mine, and it dumped all the oil out on the track, and, you know, messed the motor up. So, you know, at least with the two-piece, you got something in there on that main cap underneath of it. It'll keep it and hold it in there from blowing out. And that's why I like a two-piece, you know, is actually technically better, but as far as the sealing capability, you know, neither one. But both bolt patterns are different. So you cannot take a 87 up flex plate and put it on the earlier block because of the bolt pattern. Now, I have seen that they're starting to make adapters for this. And I have not tried them. I'm kind of curious of how the torque converter and all that is going to sit in the back of the crank. You know, it's got that little end on it that has to sit in there. So you got that little hub right there that has to go into the back of the crank. This right here goes into the back of the crank. Yes, I know it's a pilot bearing back there. Ignore that. If that was out, you would take that out to put it run automatic in it. But in this case, you know, this is just for demonstration here. But the point is, that's a big block crank, by the way. It's from 402. The point is, I'm not sure how the torque converter and all that would sit in there and if it would sit correctly. And, you know, you got to have that torque converter in there the correct way, because you got little tangs in there that go on the sides of that converter that are on the front pump of it. That is, that torque converter is spinning, it's pumped. That's what pumps all the fluid throughout the throttle body and I said throttle body, valve body, and all that stuff. And I just don't know, when it boils down to it, I don't know if it's going to sit in there right. But I have seen the adapters for that, and I've seen actual special crankshafts. They're making them now too for the earlier blocks that took this style flex plate, the old bolt pattern, and right here and here, they're actually taking those cranks and everything's the same. It still takes a one-piece rear main seal, but they're making them so you can use this bolt pattern, the newer style bolt pattern. It's just kind of crazy with how they're doing everything nowadays. But one thing that I don't want to leave out is your flywheel bolts or flex plate bolts. Your flywheel bolts, first off, let's point out, are longer. Your flex plate bolts are shorter. I want to point that out. Yes, I know it's a generic brand. I don't care, you know, I'm not worried about it. That's besides the point here. But these are for a flywheel, okay? They are longer. They are the same thread. Everything is the same. So you can take bolts out of a older two-piece rear main crank and put them into a one-piece. You know, they all interchange. No issues there. Everything's the same. Same thread, same everything. Now, the size of the actual bolt head itself might vary, but the thread and everything else is the exact same. But the longer ones are for your flywheel in a manual transmission, and the shorter ones are for your automatic. So I wanted to point that out too. And just keep this in mind. And like I said, I hope this video helps a little bit, gives you a little information. And you know, if you can't ever tell a 153 from a 168, is you can always take a tape measure right there and measure these things. And I will show that again. This is a 168, and it is 14. It is 14 and an eighth of an inch roughly. And then a 153, and this goes, it does not matter. They're the same diameter. It does not matter if it's a one-piece or a two-piece rear main seal. It's the same thing. So it's not, none of that's going to be different. The only thing that's different is the bolt pattern and if it has the weight. Okay, but the diameter itself, if it's a 153, like if it's an older 153, you know, from a Power Glide here, and then it's a 153 for like a 98 Camaro, it's the same diameter, so don't worry about that. And then a 153 is going to be 12 and roughly about 7/8. Let's say, well, 12 and we'll say a little over 3/4. That's a quick way you can tell, but the diameter is the exact same. It's just, you know, got the weight, and then the bolt pattern is different. That's it. You know, this will bolt up, so you can take a flex plate for a 98, you know, K10, and it'll bolt right up to a turbo 350. Won't have a bunch of issues, and this is why I'm debating on it, you know, because I was making videos about my C10. And if I'm going to go 4-speed or if I'm going to go turbo 350, I really want to go 4-speed and let it, you know, kind of live out the rest of its life as a 4-speed until I do the K150 swap. But I haven't decided yet, and I think we're going to end up doing the 4-speed anyway because it's just a lot simpler. But I want to make the video, don't want to keep it dragging out, so keep this in mind. Hope it helps. And check out my other video too. Is you had the staggered bolt pattern starter, and you can't really go by that, but the original factory type GM starters, they had the staggered bolt pattern. They were actually for the 168s, like right here and here on your big block, and then the as well as that one, and then the straight bolt pattern that went straight across like on my 283 was for the 153. But you can't really go by that nowadays because now they're making these mini starters and all kinds of aftermarket starters now that you can't really go by the bolt pattern anymore. But the factory ones, that's the way they were designed. That's the way I was always taught. If it had a staggered bolt pattern starter, it was for the bigger flywheel or flex plate, and if it was straight across, then it was for the 153. So anyway, I will see y'all later. Hope this helps. And sorry the video is not the greatest, but I hope it gets the point across. Thank you for watching.